Okay, it appears like we are online. Just let me double check. Okay, it appears like we are online. Okay, we are working. Just let me double check. Okay. It appears like we are. Looks like everything's working. Okay, so we'll chant. What are we going to chant today? We'll chant the same song we chanted this morning. Nitai Padakamala. Okay. Okay. Let's go get the guitar. Kamala Koti Chandra Shushitala Ye Jai Jagat Jadai Hey no Nitai Binay Bai Da Krishna Bai Day and Night Drina Kori Ronitai Sambandhanaya Britichanma Gilata Se Pachu Arunurajara Taina Lila Muke Machilo Samsarasuke Vijakule Kirori Bedara Ahankaru Mataya Taipada Pasariya That's Sachere Sajakuri Nitai Rakaruna Hoi Be Rachi Radha Krishna Hoi Be Daro Nitai Charana Dugani Nitai Charana Satcha Taya Bakanija Nitai Pada Sadaguru Asha Narodama Boru Duke Nitai More Gloras Suki Rakaranga Charanera Asha Nitai Padakamala Koti Chandra Shushitala Yai Jai Jagat Jurai Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, 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 Jai Gaur, Haribo, 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 Jai Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paramahansa Ostutera Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrendi Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Param Se Go, Shri Krishna Caitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Sidvaita Gadadha, Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrendi Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopikapatnath, Shyamakunda Radhakunda, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Jagadata Sami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari 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 Bol. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nivashesha Shanyavadi Paschachade Zatarane. So today we're going to be continuing with our Sri Caitanya Caritamrta class. So today and tomorrow, and the next day will be Ram Navami, or the appearance day of Lord Ram. So without further ado, let's get back to the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. So, Om Ganat Timidanda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, now we'll go to the Caitanya Caritamrta. Let's put this songbook away. So we are on the 136th verse of the first chapter of Madhya Lila. So let's share the screen. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Okay. So, on that happy note, let us continue. Prajabda Sibe Ratayatvadarashane Hchale Chahe Bhaktiganera Milane. Okay. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desired to meet all the devotees of Bengal every year. Therefore, he ordered them to come see the Rath Yatra festival every year. Sarvabhamagare Prabhura Viksha Paripati Satiramata Kahiyate Randeha Uk Sati. Now, this is a very interesting story, which I'll definitely tell, but it's actually further delineated later on in the Chaitanya Charitamrta, but I'll tell the story anyway after we get through with this purport and translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was invited to dine at the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. While he was eating sumptuously, the son-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the husband of his daughter Sati, criticized him. Because of this, Sati's mother cursed him by praying that Sati would become a widow. In other words, she cursed her son-in-law to die. Okay, here's the story. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was invited to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house to take prasadam. And of course, all the devotees wanted to serve Lord Chaitanya sumptuously. That means a lot of prasadam. So they kept serving him more and more and more. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya understood that his son-in-law, whose name was Amoga, was very hypercritical and envious of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay? So, what happened is that he basically was by the door holding a stick to make sure that Amoga wasn't going to watch Lord Chaitanya eat quite a bit. And Amoga finally was able to see and say, this sannyasi is eating like 11 times or 12 times as much as an ordinary person. And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya got so angry that he started chasing Amoga to beat him with the stick. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was laughing at the whole thing. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and his wife felt horrible, because they felt that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, had been offended by their son-in-law. So Sati, his mother, who was the wife of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, cursed her son-in-law to die. You should die. And what happened is Amoga, the son-in-law, he got cholera. And he was lying on his deathbed after that. And so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood that if Amoga had died, then it would basically indicate more or less the demise of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and his wife and family. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to where Amoga was lying, practically dead with cholera. And he put his hand on the heart of Amoga and said, these impurities or envy should not reside in the heart of a Brahmin. Get up and chant Hare Krishna. So Amoga immediately got up, obviously, started chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And not only that, he started to slap his cheeks. He said, with this mouth, with this, what an apparatus, mouth, tongue, I have blasphemed you. And then Lord Chaitanya advised him never to do it again. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, why did you save Amoga? But then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed that because Amoga, let me get this camera right, it has to follow me, okay. He revealed that because Amoga was related to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he got special mercy. So the point is, if you have a intimate connection with a devotee, whether it's a bodily connection, you're the son-in-law, whatever, or you're the servant of a pure devotee, like a servant of Srila Prabhupada, or you're the friend of a pure devotee, then Krishna gives you special mercy. That's called kripa. And you can get kripa. Siddhi means liberation by mercy. So this is a wonderful story. It's told later on in the Caitanya Caritamrta, but I've just told it in brief. Let's continue. Varshanture advaitari bhaktera gamana prabhure dekite sabe karila gamana. At the end of the year, all the devotees from Bengal, headed by Advaitacharya, again came to see the Lord. Indeed, there was a great rush of devotees to Jagannath Puri. Anande sabare niyadena vasastana Shivananda senakare sabara palana. When all the devotees from Bengal arrived, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu allotted them residential quarters, and Shivananda Sen was put in charge of their maintenance. So Shivananda Sen, he was a great devotee, he was a businessman, and he looked after the other devotees, and even there's a story that he looked after a dog. Anybody who took shelter, lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, or took shelter of Lord Chaitanya's devotees, or associated with Lord Chaitanya's devotees, even an animal would get taken care of. And actually, we're going to hear about this in the next verse. Shivanandera sange haila kukura bhagyavan prabhura chananate ki kaila antardana. A dog accompanied Shivananda Sen and the devotees. And that dog was so fortunate that after seeing the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was liberated and went back home, back to Godhead. So here's more of the story. So this dog was accompanying the devotees, and Shivananda Sen arranged, basically, for the dog's maintenance. And one time when Shivananda Sen was paying the taxes, because sometimes there were taxes, they were asked by different parts of India as they were going to Jagannath Puri. One time when he was paying the taxes, the dog didn't get fed. And the dog was nowhere to be seen. And then what happened is that when Shivananda Sen got back, he said, "Where's the dog? Did it eat?" And his servant said, "No, didn't see the dog. The dog didn't eat." And Shivananda Sen started fasting. Wow. Because it's mentioned in ideal household life, one treats the household animals, and even the animals who are not pets, like one's children. One has to have the vision of equality. Avijavinaya sampane brahmani gavihastini shuni chaiva swapakecha pandita sapadarshana. So Shivananda Sen had that vision. So later on, he and the party arrived in Jagannath Puri, and they saw that same dog in front of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was throwing this green coconut pulp at the dog, and the dog was catching and eating. And not only that, the dog was chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That's the best I can do as far as a dog chanting Hare Krishna. So the dog was chanting Hare Krishna, and the dog went back home, back to Godhead. So that's a wonderful story that's also told later on in the Caitanya Charitamrta. As I mentioned, this Madhya Lila chapter 1 is a summary of the Lord's later pastimes. So it's giving us a brief taste of those pastimes, and I'm expanding them a little bit, but when we read them as we go on with the Caitanya Charitamrta, we'll actually hear more details. Pate sarvabhauma sahasabaramilana Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya Kashite Gamana. Everyone met Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya on his way to Varanasi. Wow. Prabhure Milila Sarva Vaishnava Sisha Jalakrida Hela Prabhu Subaralaya. After arriving at Jagannath Puri, all the Vaishnavas met with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Later, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sported in the water, taking all the devotees with him. Sabalana Kaila Gundichagriha Samarjana Ratyatra Darashane Prabhuranartana. First the Lord washed the temple of Gundicha very thoroughly. Then everyone saw the Rath-yatra festival and the Lord's dancing before the cart. As was mentioned in a previous class, the Gundicha temple represents Vrindavan, and when the Lord goes there on the Rath-yatra festival, or during the Rath-yatra festival, he takes on the mood of a Brajabasi. Pran Govinda says, I sounds like I was there with Lord Chaitanya's audience. Well, by Prabhupada's potency, we are there. That's the point. If one serves a pure devotee like Prabhupada, even a rascal like myself, coming in contact with a pure devotee, can be transported to the spiritual realm, to the place of the Lord's pastimes. Upavane, actually, I forgot to mention, hear myself praised. I forgot one thing. So when the Lord reached the Gundicha temple, he bathed in the Rendra Sarovar and actually had water fights with his devotees because they became like little kids. And you had like Lord Nityananda calling names, Dvaitacharya calling Lord Nityananda names, and really rough stuff like little kids. Because that's the Vrindavan mood. Everyone is like a little kid, innocent. Even if they're older like Yashoda Mai and Nanda Maharaj, they're innocent and pure. Like in the Bible it says, one has to become like a child to enter the kingdom of God. So in the kingdom of God, everyone is like childlike and pure. And there's no like nasty stuff going on in the spiritual world. It's all based on trying to please Krishna. Actually, we had an interesting discussion this morning in class that, let's say, is there ever a time, I'm just going to rephrase it, ever a time when we should be doing something that's not, let's say, directly connected to Krishna consciousness? And yeah, sometimes we can do something just for fun, because fun is a need of the mind and body, so that we'll actually be fit for serving Krishna. Just like every day I run up a hill. I actually run, exercise, do all those things. I mean, you can't say it. I'm running to Krishna. Hey Radhe, Brajadeva K. Hey Nanda, Shuno, tell I'm not running to Krishna. I'm running for Krishna. So, it's indirectly connected to Krishna. But there's connection. Or even when we do something for fun. Let's say we have a volleyball game with the devotees. Many years ago, when we were helping to build or finishing up the construction, or supervising to finish up the construction of the Suva temple in Fiji, every day, practically speaking, we'd have a volleyball game. And that was fun. You could say, where was Krishna? Did you chant Hare Krishna each time you hit the ball? No. And sometimes we were making fun of the people on the other side, the devotees on the other side. You rascals! So we have to get into that Vrindavan mood sometime, which means fun, but it's fun that is relating with the devotees, fun that is keeping our bodies and souls and minds together so we can serve Krishna. This is the point. We don't want to be like so fanatic that you don't do anything for fun, like you never go swimming. Like Lord Chaitanya, he went swimming. He loved to swim. So, Upavane Kaila Prabhu Vivida Vilasa Prabhura Abhisheka Kaila Vipra Krishna Dasa. In the garden along the road from Jagannath Temple, from the Jagannath Temple to Gundicha, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed various pastimes. A Brahmana named Krishnadas performed the bathing ceremony of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was cleansing the Gundicha Temple, there was a Bengali Brahmin who took advantage of that because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was having all of his devotees pour gallons and gallons of water on different aspects of the temple. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was personally cleansing the temple. He was cleansing the Singhasana using his own cloth. So one Bengali Vaishnava, he actually bathed, did a trick. He poured some water on Lord Chaitanya's feet and he drank that water. Wonderful. It's not ooh, it's wonderful. And he drank the water and Lord Chaitanya said to Swarup Damodar Goswami, look what the sheer Bengali Vaishnava has done. Kick him out. And then, anyway, it was a pastime. It was a pastime. So let's continue. Gundi chate nrachahante kaila jala kele hera panchamite dekila lakshmi devira kele. After dancing in the Gundicha temple, the Lord sported in the water with his devotees, and on Hera Panchami day, they all saw the activities of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. Okay, I'm going to tell you that story. So, Hera Panchami, it means the fifth day. So, Hera is the goddess of fortune. Okay, got it? And Panchami is the fifth day. So, also, remember we told the story about the Rath Yatra, how Krishna is taken by the residents of Vrindavan. But he's just told his wife, Lakshmi, he's going for a little walk. So 5 days into the whole thing, he hasn't come back from his walk. Imagine, a man tells his wife, I'm going for a walk. And then after 5 days, he hasn't come back from his walk. What will she do? Call the police. Well, Lakshmi has her own police. She has her Lakshmi Dutas. And she and her Lakshmi associates, they go to where Lord Jagannath is at the Gundicha temple and beat up the associates of Lord Jagannath. This is called Hera Panchami. So when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there, the associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they would play the parts of the associates of Lakshmi Devi and also Lakshmi, and they would harass. Not ooh. Well, they would harass the servants of Lord Jagannath because Lord Jagannath had left his wife. But actually, he left his wife because being with his wife for the Anavasara, the ceremony where he's supposedly sick, being with his wife reminded him of his girlfriends in Vrindavan because his wife, or wives, are expansions of the girlfriends in Vrindavan. So naturally he wanted to go to Vrindavan. I mean, obviously, if you see pictures of your previous friends, of course, obviously none of you have any girlfriends, so that's not a problem. But let's say your previous friends, then you want to go there and see them. Just like the other day, I was talking to one of my old buddies. He's on the West Coast. His name is Jai Jagadish. I haven't seen him for like 20 years or something. I just said, wow, I should hop on a plane and see him right away. So that's just a buddy. So when Krishna, he's reminded of his associates in Vrindavan, particularly the gopis, he just says, let me get out of here. Let me make an excuse so the goddess of fortune lets me go. And so the goddess of fortune's associates, they beat up the associates of Lord Jagannath. And so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, when he saw this, he said, there's no, let's say, anger like the anger of Lakshmi. And then he described different types of angry women. One type manifests her anger, another type sober, doesn't manifest it, but she's angry. And the other type is mixed, sarcastic. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enjoyed that pastime very much, watching the devotees enact the Hera Panchami festival. So, Krishna Janma Yatra Te Prabhu Gopavesha Hoila Dadi Vara Vahitabe Laguda Piraila. On Janmashtami, Lord Krishna's birthday, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dressed himself as a coward boy. At that time, he carried a balance with pots of yogurt. And what is a balance? Balance means a stick. Okay? And on both sides, there's pots. That way you balance them. Because if you have a big pot of yogurt, how are you going to carry it? You carry it in front of you, it's going to hurt your back. Carry it in back of you. Well, you can't carry it in back of you. If you're a lady, sometimes you can carry it on your head. But generally something really heavy, you'll see people in India, they put a long, not as long, but some sort of stick. And on either side of the stick, they'll put whatever they're carrying, like 2 pots of yogurt. And as he was doing that, he was wheeling a rod about. What does that mean? Like you see sometimes at these, in American football games, there's cheerleaders. And they whirl their batons around. Because that's all Maya. And that's a perverted reflection of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's whirling this rod about. Godera Bhaktagani Tabi Karila Vidaya Sangira Bhaktalana Karin Kirtana Sadaya. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade farewell to all the devotees from Gaudadesh, Bengal, and continued chanting with his intimate devotees who constantly remained with him. Vrindavana yaite kaila godera gamana prataparudra kaila pati vivida sevana. To visit Vrindavana, the Lord went to Gaudadesh, Bengal. On the way, King Prataparudra performed a variety of services to please the Lord. In other words, he arranged for different places for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to stay. He arranged for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to pass through different areas where it would be dangerous. He made all the arrangements so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not be harassed on his journey. Puri Goshani Sange Vastra Pradhana Prasanga Ramananda Raya Haila Badraka Pariyanta. On the way to Vrindavana via Bengal, there was an incident where some cloth was exchanged with Puri Goshani. Sri Ramananda Roy accompanied the Lord as far as the city of Badraka. I believe that was Brahmananda Puri. Yeah. Brahmananda Puri, he was dressed in deerskin. See if I remember this properly. He was dressed in deerskin, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't appreciate seeing sannyasis dressed in deerskin. And actually that's an incident or proof that sometimes you have something mentioned in the Vedic literatures, like brahmacharis are supposed to dress in deerskin, sannyasis is supposed to dress in tree bark, or vanaprasthas in tree bark, I forget. Yeah, vanaprasthas in tree bark. And sometimes the sannyasis, they don't wear anything. But time, place, and circumstance, these are just details and not essential principles in devotional service. Asi vidya pachaspatira kraheti rahila prabhure dekite loka sangata haila. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reached Vijayanagara, Bengal, on the way to Vrindavan, he stopped at the house of Vidya Vachaspati, who was the brother of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suddenly arrived at his house, great crowds of people gathered. Panchadina deke loka nahika vishrama loka boye ratri prabhu aila kulila grama. For 5 consecutive days, all the people gathered to see the Lord, and still there was no rest. Out of fear of the crowd, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left at night and went to the town of Kulia, present-day Navadvip. Wow. If one considers the statements of the Chaitanya Bhagavad along with a description by Lochan Das Thakur, and Lochan Das Thakur is the author of the Chaitanya Mangal. So, of course, the Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Mangal detail, in exquisite detail, the early pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is clear that present-day Navadvip was formerly known as Kulia Grama. While at Kulia Grama, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his favor upon Devananda Pandit, we should mention that story, and delivered Gopal Chapla and many others who had previously committed offenses at his lotus feet. At that time, to go from Vijayanagara to Kuliagram, one had to cross a branch of the Ganges. All of these old places still exist. Chinadhanga was formerly situated in Kuliagrama, which is now known as Kolera Ganja. So I told the story before, but Devananda Pandit, he offended Srivas Thakur because he had Srivas Thakur kicked out of one of his Bhagavatam classes. And so he lost his ability, if he ever had his ability, to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, and even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stated that at one particular point. But then when he served another devotee, Vrikeshwara Pandit, by protecting him from the crowds, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back and he bestowed him, he gave him his mercy so he could understand the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, anyway, and as far as Gopal Chapla, you all know that story. He's the one who offended Srivas Thakur by framing Srivas Thakur so it appeared that Srivas Thakur was worshipping the goddess Durga, and therefore Gopal Chapla got leprosy, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initially said he was going to be bitten, that is, Gopal Chapla was going to be bitten by the worms of leprosy for many, many millions of births. But then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forgave him. And there was many incidents and pastimes of forgiveness that took place in Kuliagrama. Many, many wonderful forgiving pastimes. Kuliagrame te prabhura shunyagamana koti koti lokasi kaila darashana. Hearing of the Lord's arrival in Kuliagram, many hundreds of thousands of people came to see him. Kuliagrame kaila Devanandere prasada Gopala viprere Kshamaila Shivasa parada. The specific acts performed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at this time were showing favor, which we just talked about, to Devananda Pandit and excusing the Brahmin known as Gopala Chapala from the offense he had committed at the lotus feet of Srivasa Thakur. We just told that story, I'm not going to tell it again. Pashandi nindakahasi padila charane aparadakshame tare dila Krishna preme. Many atheists and blasphemers came and fell at the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Lord in return excused them and gave them love of Krishna. Wow. So this is a place, this Kuliagram, it's a place where one could get forgiven if one is repentant. It's not you just go there and say, hey, I want to be forgiven. But you have to be repentant. To be forgiven, you have to recognize what you did, number one. Number two, you have to repent. That means feel bad about it. Number three, you got to do something about it. If you offended someone, serve them. Rectify the offense. If you made a mistake, rectify the mistake. It's not enough just to understand you made an offense, to understand you committed a mistake, but you have to rectify it and feel bad about it, not depressed. There's a difference between I made a mistake and thinking I am a mistake. You are not a mistake. You made a mistake. Even with yourself, you should hate the mistake, but not actually hate yourself. Vrindavana yamena prabhu shunina singananda pata shaila mane payananda. When the Sringananda Brahmachari heard the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go to Vrindavan, he became very pleased and mentally began decorating the way there. So that's meditation. Meditation of Krishna's pure devotees is the same thing as doing the actual service. But something happened. Kulia nagare haite pata ratne vantaila nivrintha pushpa shya upare patila. First, Nishingananda Brahmachari contemplated a broad road starting from the city of Kulia. He bedecked the road with jewels, upon which he then laid a bed of stemless flowers. In other words, in his mind, in his meditation, he was decorating this road for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. However, something happened. Pate dvi dike pushpa pakulera shreni madje madje dvi pashe divya pushkarini. He mentally decorated both sides of the road with bakula flower trees, and at intervals on both sides he placed lakes of a transcendental nature. Ratna bandagata tahi parpula kamala nana pakshi kolahala sura samajala. These lakes had bathing places constructed with jewels, and they were filled with blossoming lotus flowers. There were various birds chirp, chirp, chirping, and the water was exactly like nectar. Shitala samira vahe nanagandalhana kadaira natshala paryanta lahila bandina. The entire road was surcharged with many cool breezes which carried the fragrances from various flowers. He carried the construction of this road as far as Kanai, not Shala. Kanai, not Shala, is about 200 miles from Calcutta on the loop line of the Eastern Railway. The railway station is named Talahari, and after one gets off at that station, he has to go about 2 miles to find Kanai, not Shala. That's a place of the Lord's pastimes. Agemana nanki chale napare bandite patabanda nayaya nashringa hoila vismite. Within the mind of Nishingananda Brahmachari, the road could not be constructed beyond Kanai, not Shala. He could not understand why the road's construction could not be completed, and thus he was astonished. In other words, he knew that Krishna was, or Lord Chaitanya was not going to go beyond that point by his meditation. Nischya karyaka hi shuna bhaktagana evarana yavena prabhu Shri Vrindavana. With great assurance, he then told the devotees that Lord Chaitanya would not go to Vrindavan at that time. And Prabhupada explains, Srila Nishingananda Brahmachari was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, when he heard that from Kulia Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to Vrindavan, although he had no material wealth, he began to construct within his mind a very attractive path or road for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to traverse. Some of the description of this path is given above. But even mentally, he could not construct the road beyond Kanai, Nata, Shala. Therefore, he concluded that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not go to Vrindavan at that time. For a pure devotee, it is the same whether he materially constructs a path or constructs one within his mind. This is because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardana, is Bhava Grahi, or appreciative of the sentiment. For him, a path made with actual jewels and a path made by mental jewels are the same. Though subtle, mind is also matter, so any path, indeed anything for the service of the Lord, whether in gross matter or in subtle matter, is accepted equally by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord accepts the attitude of his devotee and sees how much he is prepared to serve him. The devotee is at liberty to serve the Lord either in gross matter or in subtle matter. The important point is that the service be in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati. Tadaham bhaktupad tam ashtami prayatat manaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. The real ingredient is bhakti, or devotion. Pure devotion is uncontaminated by the modes of material nature, ahaitaki, apratihata. Unconditional devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. This means that one does not have to be very rich or to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even the poorest man can equally serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he has pure devotion. If there's no ulterior motive, devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. That's a really important point. So even if you don't have any way to serve the Lord, externally, you serve them internally in meditation, and you get the same result. However, if you do have a way to serve him externally, and you say, I'm just going to serve him internally, that is determination of the mode of ignorance, because you have a way to do it externally. The whole point is to engage the mind, yes, but to also engage the senses, the body, etc. Mind, body, and words in the Lord's service. Just like you have a Tridandi sannyasi, which we talked about in the previous class. Tridandi means he serves the Lord with his mind, body, and words. So if you have, let's say if you're disabled, you can't do anything else. Or like that Brahmin that's mentioned in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, who was able to offer sweet rice in his mind to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he didn't have the ingredients elsewhere. And the Lord accepted it. And in fact, when he was testing the sweet rice in his mind to see if it was cold and if he burnt his finger, and when he burnt his finger in meditation, he also burnt his finger externally, and the Lord was so pleased and laughing at him that he brought him back to Godhead immediately by that pure devotion. But if you have some way that's called Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha Yukta Vairagya Muchate, if you can serve the Lord somehow or other in this world, just don't sit down and say, I'm serving the Lord in my mind. It doesn't work like that. You have to give 100%. The whole point is giving 100% whatever you have. Your 100% may not be the same as someone else's 100%. A typical example is Lord Ram was building the bridge with the help of big, giant, humongous monkeys. And he was building that bridge to Lanka to rescue Sita Devi. Okay. The monkeys were carrying these big boulders, many, many tons, writing the name of Ram on each one. Ram, 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 Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. And the boulders would float. And then along came a spider. And a little spider was doing that. He was not taking a big boulder, of course. He was taking a little grain of sand or something. And he was somehow or other writing Ram's name on a grain of sand. Don't know how he did that. But, spiders have many arms. I guess they can do that. And then he was pushing in the ocean to try to make the bridge. And one of the very big Kimpurushas, Hanuman, said to him, get out of my way, you little puny spider. You're interfering with Ram's service. We got to make this bridge, get out of the way. And Ram said to Hanuman, you stop. Because this spider, he is doing as much service as you are doing. And you better believe it. So that's the point. You give 100%. Your 100% is different than another person's 100%. You may be a spider. You may be Hanuman. You may be a gorilla. But just do 100%. Everybody has a different level of intelligence. Everyone has a different level of whatever. And that 100% also means in terms of your psychophysical nature. Psychophysical nature doesn't mean that you're crazy. Psychophysical nature means you have a certain nature. Usually we're talking about Varnashram in this particular context. You like to study and teach. Preach, teach, share. Or you like to Ishwara Bhava, you like to be in charge of things. I like to be the manager. I don't like to be the manager. Or you like to make money, or you like to take care of the cows, or you like to work with your hands, something like that. You like to work, which is fine. There's no problem with that. So you do that for Krishna, and everyone is equal. Someone who works with his hands, cleaning the floor, is equal to one who preaches if they are using all their energy, cooperating with each other, serving the Vaishnavas, having a loving mood of reciprocation with all the Vaishnavas. It's completely equal. The point is, whatever God-given talents you have, you use them for Krishna. 100%. Whatever it is. Anything you do. You're an artist, you're a photographer, you're a filmmaker, you're a musician, you're a manager, you're a businessman, It really doesn't matter as far as your own spiritual advancement is concerned. And if all these different aspects of society and these persons with different psychophysical natures cooperate together, our movement will be successful if they cooperate and don't criticize and don't offend Vaishnavas. On that happy note, we ended with 161 today, and so we can take some questions from all you happy Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. All right. Wow. Let's unmute you. Looks like Jagadguru is in the Brahmajyoti. Oh my God. Oh, he just got out of the Brahmajyoti. So, who would like to ask a question?
I'll ask.
Oh my God. Sounds like a voice from the past. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So,
Please have my
Tulsi.
please.
Okay,
Yes.
so you have a
Um,
question?
so Nrsinga Brahmachari, very attached to Lord Nrsingadev, like super
Yeah.
attached. And so
Yeah.
but you said Lord Nrsingadev doesn't, because he's not the fully human manifestation, so he doesn't have like his own neighborhood in the spiritual world.
That's right.
So what happens to
What
Nrsinga
happens when he
Brahmachari?
what
Because
happens
he's
to
so
him?
attached to him.
Because he understands Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadish Hari. He understands the Shingadev. Even in the spiritual world, they understand about these various incarnations. But they also understand that it's Krishna in different moods. So it's like one and different simultaneously. That a pure devotee of Lord Nrsingadev actually, when they see Krishna, they see Lord Nrsingadev in Krishna.
Yeah, I guess because also Krishna showed him how he was also Jagannath too at that
Yeah,
pastime.
yeah, yeah. It's not that they're unaware of these things, but they see how within the Lord there are all the various manifestations and moods and incarnations and avatars. Okay, who else has a question? Wow, no one has a question tonight.
Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances.
Okay, Rakesh, what's the question?
Maharaj, we say that there are 4 million species of life on the universe, I
Eight
guess.
million, 8,400,000.
Just have a question. Does it include the subspecies? Like we have a fish, and fish has many variety of fish. So
Yes, there's different fish species. Uh, in the Western world, we describe species. We say that people, or not people, but entities are the same species if they can reproduce. So, anyway, the Vedic definition of species, I think, is probably different than the Western definition. But in any case, there's variety. I don't think don't be stuck on the number. I mean, the number is important, 8,400,000 species. But how to distinguish those species, I have not read a direct description of how to distinguish between the different species. But there's 400,000 species of human beings. That's interesting. 400,000 species of human beings. Wow. I think I've met about 399,000 of them so far. So, I mean, exactly how to distinguish this, it's a detail that's not important. Yeah, 900,000. Pran Govinda, being our expert, says 900,000 aquatics. So, you can go swimming and just like count them all. You can spend all your human form of life counting all the different types of fishies and and lobsters, if you like. But in any case, that's not a really important point. Whatever. There's a lot. All you need to know is there's a lot, and the Vedas say is 8,400,000. So how to distinguish between one, whether whether the Aborigines in Australia are a different human species or not, I don't know. I don't know. But you would have to ask someone who is expert.
Nobody knows that, Maharaj. That's why, because we had a class on Sunday, and the Maharaj in the class also stopped where you stopped. They said that he has read so many Veds, like he could not come up with the answer of subspecies or species. That's why I wanted to clarify with you. And both
Yeah,
are saying,
that's true. That's true. We just don't have that information, nor is it important. The important thing is how to get out of this material world. How to become attached to Krishna so we're not like being led around by our nose and our bellies and our genitals and our eyes. I mean, that's the important question. Just like Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krota Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udara Pashta Vegam. Who cares whether a Cocker Spaniel is a different species than a French Poodle? That it's actually funny. I mean, people take care of their dogs, and they take them to hairdressers, and they take them to psychiatrists. My French Poodle has a split personality. So the whole point is to be detached, by becoming attached to Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. So don't worry about all these species.
Maharaj,
Yeah.
I have a question.
please
Yeah.
accept my humble obeisance and all grace to Prabhupada.
Sounds
In
like
Jaiva
fun.
Dharma, Bhaktivinoda Thakur put these 400,000 human in 5 categories.
Yeah.
He says first is atheist, immoralist,
Immoral, and then the atheist, immoral.
atheist, moralist,
Yeah,
and
I know.
theist, moralist, and the religious, and then devotee.
Yeah. So, but those aren't species distinguishing.
No,
Those
they are evolution by
five types
consciousness.
of human beings. Those are 5 types of human beings.
Yeah.
But it's not like you can have a religious, a Kim Purusha, for example, who is a devotee like Hanuman, isn't a different species than me, I hope. But he's religious and Krishna conscious. And Ravana, who's probably the same species as me, Ravana is the same species as me, and he's irreligious. So you really can't, it's not a correspondence between species. We were talking about this on Sunday. You have Rakshasas like Vibhishan, who are great pure devotees, and Rakshasas like Ravan, who are demons. And then you got Krishna's sons like Boma, who are demons. And you have Krishna's sons like Prajuna, who are great personalities. So, anyway, in any of the human species, they can become devotees. Or any of the animals, like Shivananda Sain's animal. Anyway, why speak about the species? Who cares?
Maharaj, can I intervene in your, not
Yes,
for you, but for the other audience
Other
beside
audience.
you? I mean, because I got very much affected by Bhagavatam 6.11.24 on Vritrasura's beautiful prayers.
Yes.
And in the prayers, he said, out of humility, maybe Sripad Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj say something, but he said, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commented, every disciple must think that their guru is from spiritual world, the eternal associate. Should not think like an ordinary soul coming, like a human being. It will be offensive otherwise. I'm not talking to you, Maharaj. I'm talking for the rest of the audience beside you. You didn't hear it.
Gananjana Shalakaya Jakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master with the torchlight of knowledge opened my eyes.
Even that verse, Maharaj, yes, that verse proper translated, when I shall be a servant of your eternal servant.
Yeah.
Proper translation is very beautiful. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, this is the mood should be for disciple. They should not see, he didn't say Bir Krishna Goswami, but I'm adding it. The disciples should see always their guru is not a person from this world or a human being, or they should think always. And that is proper attitude. This is,
Yeah, that's right. I'm not from the human species. I was actually one of Ravana's associates in my last life.
Krishna.
I was either a yaksha or rakshasa or something like that. Yes, I
you are
didn't
too humble, Maharaj.
I know I'm too humble. I didn't descend, I ascended. You know, there was between
The decent ministers.
I ascended. What happened is one time the only reason I'm in the Krishna conscious movement was last lifetime I was a mosquito and I tried to suck the blood of a pure devotee and I got some of it. And the pure got some remnants, the blood, and the pure devotees smacked me and I died and I became Pure Krishna Goswami. Anyways, enough jokes. All right, so someone ask a serious question, please.
Gurudev, Hare Krishna, please assemble with us is Sumukha.
Yeah.
I want to know, it always says torch-like knowledge. Why torch-like knowledge?
Wait.
Lord.
Wait a second. Okay, torchlight of knowledge. Why is the torchlight of knowledge there?
Yeah. Why not sun-like knowledge? Why only torch-like knowledge? I don't understand.
Because he's in the material world, which is the place of darkness, and he's bringing the torch. The material world is darkness. So he's bringing the torch, the light, to the material world.
Okay.
Of Lord Chaitanya, as far as sun and the moon, that's already reserved for Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. That metaphor is reserved for both of them. So the spiritual master is bringing a segment of that light, which is a torch. Now, if that mantra was written nowadays, it would say the spiritual master is bringing the light bulb of knowledge. Spiritual master is bringing the LED light bulb.
So Guru, this torch means the one you use in the Olympic Games, the big torch. That kind of torch he refers to?
It doesn't matter. It's just a metaphor. The point is, the material world is dark. Let's get into the metaphor that Plato used. Plato wrote, he's a great Western philosopher, he wrote the metaphor of a cave. And in that cave, people lived, and all they saw were their shadows. They thought the real world is just shadows and darkness. And once upon a time, someone got out of the cave, and he saw the sun. But he couldn't bring the sun into the cave. He had to bring a torch in, and he said, there's a lot of light outside, please follow me. And so that's Srila Prabhupada. Because when one has a torch, here further explaining the metaphor to you, then it's ideal for going into a cave and bringing people out. But you can't bring a sun into the cave. You can bring a torch into the cave. For those of you who are in America, a torch means a flashlight. That's the American word. Because if you're born in India or in Australia, New Zealand, or in the UK, torch means a flashlight. But in the case of the torch in that mantra, it actually means a torch, a flaming, something with a flame, a wooden stick or something like that with a flame on the top. And that's how people would go into a cave with torches, and they'd rescue people. So it's a very visual metaphor. You understand? If you say sun, that's not so visual. But when you say the torchlight of knowledge, then you picture the guru with his torch entering into your dark cave. Of course, dark, deep well of material existence,
Oh.
or dark cave, and leading you out on the
So,
kupa, right?
so
Right?
that means,
Pran Govinda, you know what Andakupa is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't get into
The sadhu
any.
manne asura
No,
varja
no, no, no,
dehinam.
don't tell me the verse. Don't tell me the verse because it will offend some people.
I'm not saying Prahlad Maharaj said to his
No,
followers.
no, no, no. Yeah, but don't give the verse. I don't want to discourage people doing ashram. So anyway, so Andakupa, the dark, deep, blind well. Okay, I think Andy, you have a question? Could you take yourself off mute? No, not necessarily.
so that means,
Can't hear you.
yes,
So what is your question?
yes. So,
It-
it's a very good question. Since Hanuman was such a great devotee of Lord Ram, he loved the Lord. So my question is, should Hanuman be worshipped?
yes, we worship him as a devotee, not as
Question
God.
is, should Hanuman be worshipped because he loved Ram so much and he was a good devotee?
Yes, yes, we worship him as Ram's devotee. We have deities of Hanuman on the altar in Suva. We have deities of Hanuman on the altar in my altar. Here in my house, I have Hanuman on the altar. So we worship him as a devotee, not as God. Some people who are misled, they worship Hanuman as God, and they have this concocted idea of Panchamukha Hanuman, which is not there in the Vedic literatures. It's just bogus, bogus, bogus. It comes from, anyway, I'm not going to tell you who it comes from because I don't want to offend anybody. But it's bogus, completely bogus. Hanuman is not God. Hanuman is a servant of Ram. He's like Prabhupada. We worship Hanuman in the same mood that we would worship His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As a great devotee of Ram, I love Hanuman. He's my hero. He's my role model. He's great. Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Hanuman, oh Hanuman, oh Hanuman, oh Hanuman. Hanuman, oh Hanuman. I wrote a whole song about Hanuman. Hanuman, oh son of the wind. Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram. Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Hanuman, oh Hanuman. Okay, on that happy note, let's end tonight's session. And tomorrow we'll continue with the Caitanya Charitamrta. Thank you very much. All glories to His